The Gilgo murderer, also known as the Long Island serial killer, has been captured. His name is Rex Howerman, 59-year-old man. He was arrested and charged with the murder of killing, well, we know specifically 3 women. He's charged with the Gilgo 4. And in all, since 2010, there have been 9 women found, 1 man found, and 1 toddler found.
Oh, my gosh.
Wait,
Terrible.
that he did, or that it's
That's
suspected
all
of?
being linked
Suspected, yeah.
to
Really?
to Long Island
Dang.
serial killer. Yeah,
I didn't hear about the toddler.
yeah, I know. It just more and more
That's
are coming
terrible.
out.
I wonder if he was murdering the woman and the toddler was there. I mean, this is
I
just
don't
guessing.
know. Yeah, I don't know.
Terrible.
But if you haven't seen the story, I mean, it's hard to imagine that you haven't because it's everywhere. It was this man, Rex Howerman, who worked as an architect. He's a married man. He's a father of 2, ran his own business. And as a matter of fact, someone that he worked with as part of his firm, he worked with a lot of interior designers. And one of the interior designers, of course, people catch up with her and they wanted to know, did you ever suspect that Rex Howerman was a serial killer? Take a listen.
Me and my boyfriend are not surprised that he is a serial killer.
Wow.
Never hear that.
Just everything about him.
It's usually like, we never would have thought.
We never would have thought. And there's
He's
a
so
lot.
nice.
There is a lot of that. I mean, some of the neighbors who say he kept to himself. His wife was nice. Didn't see her much. You know, the kids were grown. A lot of neighbors saying we had no idea, but they were sleeping better knowing that that Lisk had been captured. But it's not very often you hear somebody say, "Oh yeah."
Oh, we thought so.
His mannerisms, how full of himself that he was, how odd he was. He was always very sweaty and like not.
Okay, I feel attacked.
I wouldn't. I mean,
Sweaty. What does that do?
Just characteristics of Jared.
I wouldn't have put that in there.
Yeah.
But she's just describing.
Sweaty.
It's sure.
Full
Okay.
of himself,
Very-
sweaty.
Nice to talk to and creepy.
Oh yeah.
We're not surprised.
Oh, okay.
We are shocked. I'm still processing all of this. Thinking over and over again about how I shook his hand and how his hand felt. And I'm listening to the voicemails on my phone from him. And I'm going over the emails. And I'm looking at the photos of all of us at the Christmas party and the photos of him at our networking meetings in the conference room. And I'm just seeing this monster hiding in plain sight. And it all makes so much sense. He was so full of himself. I just thought he was an architect that thought he was like God's gift to this world. But no, he's literally a serial killer.
Very
That's
interesting.
insane.
So, because he had a family too,
Yeah,
like kids and a wife. But I heard the wife was odd too.
Yeah, they didn't see her very often. I mean, I think people who interacted with her said weird but nice. I mean, wasn't
Do you think she
outwardly
knew?
rude. I don't know. Now, I will tell you, because I've gone down the rabbit hole as I do. I've heard some people say there was a woman in particular who was also a freelance interior designer, and she was friends, acquaintances with Rex Howerman. And at one point, he had, I guess, hired her or asked her to come and measure his house because he wanted to remodel his kitchen. And so she had to, go in and take some measurements or whatever. And so while she was measuring the house, there was a specific area that she needed to get into.
Yeah.
And he was like, you can't open that door. She was like, okay, but I have to measure. And he said, oh, no, it's just a bunch of my guns. I keep them locked up because
Well, he did have a lot of guns.
He did, I think, over 300. I think 150 of them were registered, and then there were a total of 300 weapons that they found in the closet. And the door was locked. She was not allowed to go in there. He said, "I'll get the measurements for you at some point." She said, at the time, I thought it was really weird because he had asked me to come to his house to measure, but then wouldn't let me in a certain room.
She could have been a victim.
Well, and that was another part that was kind of weird about this story, Jason, is because the same woman was working freelance for his architect firm. And she, I guess during the wintertime, she slipped and fell outside of the building. And he took her to the hospital or to the doctor and then escorted her home into her apartment and made sure that she had her medications and she had some food.
Creepy.
And she said that there was this moment, now that she knows who it is and the things that he has done, that she was like, I don't she felt bad saying it because it sounds very blasé, but she was like, he could have killed me, but I guess I wasn't on the menu. And she said that she was having all of these thoughts of, I'm so glad it wasn't me, but why wasn't it me?
Because it would be traced back to him, probably.
Well, and
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's what Jared and I were saying, is that because she would have been missing.
Yeah.
And people would have
Would
known.
have missed her instead of like a sex worker. And
he was targeting
sex
people on
workers.
Craigslist.
Craigslist?
Yeah, on Craigslist.
And not that sex
workers,
workers aren't human beings, but if they're, less likely to be missed, they might not have a closeness with family.
Right. They might be living on the streets and don't have.
It's just easier to get away with.
Right. That wouldn't be missing rent payments, maybe, or car payments, or that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But
He still could have. I mean, if the impulse was, he's like, he's alone. He just does it.
But do you think that this Gilgo?
Yeah, the Gilgo.
Was he killing the sex workers just randomly because, or was he having like sexual relations and wanted to kill them to get rid of them?
I don't know. He contacted them all, and I know that his Google searches were definitely looking for escorts, but I don't know. I have not seen anything yet about whether he actually had.
You'd assume so.
I would
but,
assume,
but
Right.
you don't know.
but I don't know. The same woman that we just heard from, her name is Dominique, and she's an interior designer, and this just gets into, she's really kind of analyzing his psyche, where they had a common shared interest of true crime podcasts.
He asks me the first thing about myself, and he asks back, do you like any podcasts? And I say, yeah, I listen to some comedy, like history ones, and then I used to listen to a lot of true crime, but it's a little dark for me, so I don't really listen anymore. And he asks me, do you have a favorite case? A favorite true crime case? And I say, no, I don't. I have like a podcast I used to listen to, Crime Junkie. And he asks me if I know. I'm not making this up at all. I'm like just so shocked. I need to share this with somebody, all of TikTok. He asked me, do I know about the Gilgo beach murders?
Because there had been.
Oh my!
Yeah,
His own murder.
his own.
Right.
Yes, and we were, I think, the very first time we were talking about this story, just as it was breaking, we were like, is that the same as the Craigslist killer, the list? But no, there have been several podcasts all about, because at the time they were still unsolved. People diving into these killings. The serial killer, he was known as Lisk, Long Island serial killer. There was a program called Lost Ones on Netflix. There's another one that's called The Killing Season on, I believe it's on A&E, or maybe it's on Amazon. I can't remember. So people have been trying to solve it for
murders.
years.
Oh my
And he's like suggesting
and
you
he's
listen to
following
this.
along.
What about this one?
Yeah.
This
Then
unsolved murder.
Maybe maybe it had nothing to do with a sexual thing. He had such a passion or overwhelming passion for these podcasts or these true crime stories that he liked being in his own one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The getting off on being able to get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say a lot. You hear about these serial killers, the famous ones. They would taunt the police. They
Oh,
would,
yeah.
And he did that. He did that with the families,
With their
right?
taunt the
Families, yeah.
families. They would be involved. They'd be at the crime scenes. Many of them would go look for the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's just real life.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. Real life.
Right.
It's crazy.
I can see that though.
I know we have more audio. That's
Jason, this is the second time you've compared yourself to a serial killer.
well.
No, I could just see that. I put myself in his shoes, but I mean, I would never. But.
There's a common signs of a serial killer.
Yeah.
Lack of empathy,
Yep.
lack of remorse,
Mm-hmm.
impulsivity,
Yeah.
grandiosity, narcissism, superficial charm,
Oh, boy.
which they have to be.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, they're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Manipulation,
That sounds like me. The whole list sounds like me.
addictive personality, lust for power,
Mm.
sensation seeking,
Oh, my.
and then
Oh my gosh.
the McDonald triad. Doesn't mean you like going to McDonald's. It's a McDonald triad. That is where when you're a kid, you are abusive towards animals. The
Oh.
three things: you're abusive
Oh,
towards
thank
animals,
goodness, not me.
a fire setter, and you wet your bed past the age of 5.
What is that about? The wetting the bed, the
Yeah.
wetting the bed
Weird.
part.
I don't know.
Mhm.
It,
Maybe
it
they
doesn't mean
tease
if
you and
you
you get
do that,
mad.
you're a serial killer.
Right.
But
You're
I've
more
never-
likely, correct?
of those people
Yeah.
they find they had that in common.
The
for some
three
reason.
things that you said that
Interesting.
in common are completely the opposite than me, but 9 out of the 10 are the other
other
ones.
ones.
They are just like me.
That's you? Okay. Well, Dominique, the interior designer, goes on to talk about how, I mean, in a way, he's taunting her. She didn't know it at the time, talking about like what's your favorite podcast and have you followed this one in particular. I mean, that is some taunting there.
Oh, it is.
But
Yeah.
she continues.
Trolling, really.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I do. I'm pretty sure there's a multi-part episode on Crime Junkie. And I'm like, yeah, of course I know. And he goes on to tell me, yeah, that's a serial killer that was never caught in my hometown, my neighborhood where I live. And tells me the guy killed 10 people and he might still be out there. And I make a joke and I'm like, yeah, you never know who you're talking to. Anybody could be I could be a serial killer. And he laughed at that.
It's like,
And
I am.
What are you talking about?
Not true.
I'm really disturbed.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And then also Dominique is she's released a voicemail. Now the thing that makes the voicemail interesting is that she is an interior designer, freelance interior designer. At this point, when he left her this voicemail message, they had zero business together and hadn't had any business together. No current projects. It hadn't even had a past project in for a year.
Okay.
So there's no reason for him to be calling her.
Got it.
Hey, this is Rex from the BNI group. I actually heard you are no longer part of the group. I still wanted to talk to you. I had a question for you. I also wanted to touch base. So if you get an opportunity, you can always try me at the office.
I guess he
Or
gives the
feel
number.
free to use my cell. Mine.
Leaving numbers.
Hope you're doing good. Hope to talk to you soon. Thanks.
Like in your mind, you
That's
don't.
him.
You
Yeah.
don't, yeah, that's him.
him.
You don't.
That's
think,
the real voice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I guess when you think of evil, you think he's gonna be like a monster and call me, you stupid, and all this
Yeah,
stuff.
no.
No, they're gonna be. They have to have some charisma. They
And
have to
he-
have some normalcy, or they can't do it.
Right,
They
and
can't
he
get away
goes
with
under
it.
the guise of just a work question.
Yeah.
Call me when you get a minute.
Yeah.
You know, it's wow.
Great. Did she call him back? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's so odd.
Yeah.
It's weird to hear his voice.
I just think, how does his wife or kids not suspect something? There's got to be more to it. They need to interview the wife.
Oh, they will.
They
They
need to
will.
really make sure she had nothing to do with it because he's got to be out and doing things like, where were you?
Oh well,
Dismembering people. I mean,
right.
Right.
Where did you come home every night after? And nothing that I have seen so far. I mean, other than I think maybe one throwback photo of his family. Although I don't even remember if I saw his children. But anyway, we haven't heard much from her. But I will say, speaking of him as a person, he wore
Yes.
a 3-piece suit every day to his job. Right. Dresses up. I know that the woman called him sweaty and full of himself, whatever. But the serial killer glasses give you away every time.
Did he have the
Glass.
They're big, huge,
Yeah, what's up with
oversized, like
that?
the Ted Bundy glasses.
the
along
Jeffrey
with
Dahmer?
the Jeffrey Dahmer, the ones with the 3-piece suit and then these serial killer glasses. And I'm like, hello, you're a serial killer. Why are you wearing those?
I think if you wear the big glasses,
Yeah.
you should be arrested on sight, just to be questioned.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people that wear those glasses that
Well,
aren't serial
No,
killers.
if you're
Not
a-
like that.
Not like that.
Let me rephrase it. If you're a white male,
Yes.
because typically serial killers are white male,
Mhm.
with serial killer glasses on, you need to be questioned. Just question.
Yeah.
Not you're not going to take it. Just,
Yeah.
We need to talk to you, and we need to check your home. And if
Yeah.
you have a basement or a crawl space, we need to also check that.
And
Yeah,
don't
let's
tell
chat.
me that I can't go into a room that's locked because I will.
Right.
And I don't know. It's just
odd,
they're
right?
big 80s glasses. And then to see this man wearing, it's not a designer suit, but it is. He puts himself together every day in a 3-piece suit and then he puts on the glasses. I just don't.
Yeah, I'm starting to.
Yeah.
There's a couple things on my list that I don't trust anymore.
Yeah.
I had an issue with beards, obviously, because
Oh.
you can't really see the person for who they really are because they're hiding under something.
Okay.
The big one. And
We
now
mean not on trend.
I'm starting to think the 3-piece suit.
Yeah.
It's like a cover up. It's like a facade. And if you look at a lot of companies and businesses now, we have shied away from that style of. I mean, it used to be when you go on an airplane that 90% of the airplane would be
Dressed up.
businessmen
Yeah.
dressed up
Yeah.
in suits. Now it's not like that anymore. And big companies like Google and even this company they know in Virginia Beach, the way they dress up, it's like more of like a polo, more relaxed. And I feel like when you're dressed up in a suit, I trust you less. And let me tell you why. Even if you're trying to sell me something, sorry, but if you're trying to sell me something in a suit, I automatically think expensive, trying hard. That's what I think.
Oh, okay.
If you're dressed up like Barry, in his polo coming, I feel like, okay, cool. It's not going to be super expensive for me to have to pay for that suit. And you're more of a common person that I maybe can connect with.
Like
more.
you're on the same level. Like,
Yeah, it's like the suit is trying hard, and then it seems like, think about it, when somebody comes in with a suit to sell you something, that feels expensive. It automatically puts expensive. Is going to be expensive than a guy just in a polo and casual business wear.
Yeah.
Or like,
I disagree, but I mean, a three-piece suit maybe because you just don't see them very
just
often.
don't
'cause
see
you're like,
that.
Interesting choice. But if I see somebody with a suit, I'm thinking professional.
I do love a suit on a
But if
man.
somebody's coming in to sell you something, I would think if they're coming to meet you at the house in a business suit, I think, oh gosh, how much is this going to cost? Then some guy coming over.
Yeah. Well, he was going to his architectural firm every day, but in my mind, I have no idea what he does or what he did, but I imagine you were dressing up that way every day to go sit behind a desk. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
But and you don't see it. You do not see, you see people in suits and ties, but you very rarely see the three-piece.
Yeah.
And
Like if you showed up and to meet your, like you say, you have an attorney that's representing you or whatever, and he's wearing like a polo and like basketball shorts, I'd be like,
I wouldn't say basketball shorts, but
whatever, or he's wearing khaki. I would feel like, if he's wearing a suit, I'm like, okay, he's
he means
professional.
business.
yeah, I
Doesn't
can
mean
see
he
that
is,
in
but
that profession.
But I guess it
But then
depends what it
again,
is.
like a doctor, usually a doctor when he's coming to see you in the doctor's office should be the most professional. Doesn't come usually in a suit.
No, but they come in their
The white
jacket.
jacket,
They-
yeah.
So,
so
that's
it fits that
yeah.
profession, and that's what you want. But when you're dealing with selling things and doing that, sometimes it feels like, okay, it's not. I don't want that much business.
I just want a little business.
it's like scamming.
Now, other than Jason admitting to having personality traits of a serial killer, I've never felt Jason would be a serial killer. No, like maybe like a snap and just kill one of us, but not like a planned out thing.
100%.
Like killing people, like a bunch of people, at a different time. Have you ever met someone that you thought could be a serial killer?
Hugs.
Hugs. Yeah, that's my
I think
first
so.
thought. Former intern Hugs.
Really?
I didn't ever think Hugs, and this is, I'm not trying to be too mean, but I did.
We just said we thought he was a serial killer, so you really can't be meaner than that.
I can.
I think she can because I know where she's
I
going.
don't
I think
think
so, too.
he's smart enough to pull it off.
There it
yeah.
is.
I don't
Yeah.
think
Too
Okay.
dumb to
he's
kill people.
too sloppy. You know,
'Cause you got- yeah.
he's just not detail oriented, and I think
Yeah.
you really have to be to keep up with all of it. And
Yeah.
I just don't think he has it.
Yeah.
You know,
Sometimes you drive by certain houses, you're like, what's going on over there? Like they'll have trash bags on the windows. Not like somebody that's like going through a tough time. You're just like, Then you're thinking, what's going on? That's guy, and they're overgrown. But you see cars in the driveway.
you
you're
want to
like,
see what's going on, but
like,
you
there's
also
something
don't.
going on.
I wonder
there.
how many, if it was estimated, because at the time we really don't know who's killing who, but how many active serial killers are there at
Yeah.
any
Oh.
given time in America?
So I just heard a report about this, and there was a police detective who was saying they really can't be sure, obviously, but in his data bank there were like 342.
Active
Dang.
serial killers?
And he was like, somebody
Wow.
else might have a different data bank. He was like, so don't come at
Jeez.
me.
Well, I
But
thought there was
yeah.
like one or two.
Mm-mm.
300 and something, that's one.
Because what
And that's
do-
in America,
but
right?
what does what does
Just
that
America.
what does it? You have to be a serial killer. You have to kill 1, 2, 3, 3,
A
3
certain
or
I
more.
think
amount.
they said 3 or more,
Is it
right?
3 or more?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's multiple people for every
That's what he
state.
said. That's what he said.
yeah.
That means right here in this state, we have several serial killers. That
Yeah.
can't be right.
We probably have more if you do it by population. We're
I'm
the
just-
ninth most populous
yeah.
state in the country.
That's what the guy was saying.
No.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would mean right now, technically, we would have multiple serial killers in this state.
Yeah.
But
and,
see, here's the
and
thing.
more likely in where we live, because the Triad area has, like the third most or highest population outside of Raleigh and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You
But-
think there's a serial killer right here
Oh.
in the Triad?
I'm positive.
Maybe
There might be one listening.
there might be.
Might be one
Mm.
working here.
Oh my God.
No, but I do probably statistically maybe.
But also we're thinking of serial killers as people who have the crime podcast about them and who are
Right. These are unknowns.
But these are
Okay,
unknown
so
people.
so technically, then, what you're saying is a gang member that killed multiple people could be a serial
I
killer.
think
If
that-
they're getting in gang fights multiple times, that could technically be a serial killer.
I guess so.
I think by the strict definition. Can somebody look up the definition real quick? But I always thought it was 3 or more. I could be wrong.
And
by
for some
that.
reason, a gang member that's doing that seems less creepy and scary than a serial killer that you don't know about doing it. Well, I don't know
because
why.
like you kind of know like they have an enemy. Like they might have a
Yeah,
they
so
might have-
targeting
yeah.
the enemy. They're probably just as bad back.
yeah, another gang they're fighting with.
Yeah.
It's
Well-
not just randoms.
Yeah.
OMG. According to the Crime Wire, criminalists and FBI profilers believe there could be around 2,000 active serial
Okay,
killers
that's-
in the U.S.
Well,
That's way
that
worse.
could be the gang
That's
members.
way
Strangers.
worse.
I'm thinking the Ted Bundy type and now this
Yeah.
Gilgo type. There's got to be less than that.
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking of the high profile
Yes.
ones that people have made high profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for the definition, though, it does say someone who's murdered 3 or more persons, but it says often with no apparent motive, typically following a characteristic,
Okay.
predictable
Okay, then.
behavior.
So in that
pattern.
case, these aren't gang members.
And taking
Well, sometimes there's no motive. Sometimes in the gang, if they're just fighting and whatnot, and getting in disagreements and whatnot. Go ahead, Matt.
3 or more people, murders taking place over more than a month, including a significant period of time between them.
Yeah, so I don't think gang members would fall under that. Do you think?
Well, I don't know if it's. I'm sure there's some gang members
like-
that don't have to kill every month.
But they have a motive.
Some people
since-
do consider 2 to be serial if there's the link of like the commonality of like similar job or whatever it
Oh.
might be.
North Carolina, in
Mhm.
particular, since 1992, has had 295 known cases of serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So he wasn't far from the money. I don't know where he might have been in New York. I don't know what.
I guess Pazugu Algarad was considered that.
Oh,
he
yeah,
was
he
in
was.
North Carolina.
Yep.
And Clemens or Winston?
Clemens, yeah.
Clemens.
So that's almost 300, right? And 3 or more. So it's like 900 people have died in North
Yeah.
Carolina.
That
from
that's what
serial
they know.
killers.
They know about.
That's crazy.
Yep.
There was a really interesting
Oh, I'm
part
sorry.
of
That's serial
the.
killer victims. So
Oh.
then divide that by number. Sorry, I messed up that one.
Let's-
Oh.
Yeah.
There was a really interesting part too about how there are so many podcasts or stories or movies or whatever made about these serial killers, but what it is helping that people, internet sleuths or internet detectives, who just your everyday person who's listening, really have helped police match certain DNA or match certain descriptions of people who are a John Doe or a Jane
Yeah.
Doe, and so they are helping.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I saw this on Fox 8 website that last year. Well, how did we not hear about this?
What?
Maybe we did. John Richardson, it's a victim. I'm sorry. The family of one of John Richardson's victims says he's a serial killer. He's not the first one encountered in Greensboro. Police arrested Richardson, 53, last month and charged him with 3 counts of first-degree murder, and said there's probably more victims. He admitted to killing. He's not the first one in Greensboro. There's a guy named Robert Alston who admitted to killing 4 women.
Oh man.
And they give the definition of serial killer. It's like exactly what Matt was saying. It's separate events, usually done by one person acting alone, and lots of times they can't figure out the motive. Interesting. Scary. He's
Yeah.
walking among us.
What they call Rex Howerman, the demon who walks among us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, looking at this history, there's one man in 1960, North Carolina, 33 victims.
Oh, my gosh.
Yikes.
Julian Andrew Frank. Jeez, that's crazy.
And I think the most prolific one is someone no one talks about. I think it's Albert Fish, I believe. There was like hundreds and hundreds of
Oh.
victims. And like, people, I don't know, for whatever reason, he doesn't.
Is there a podcast for that?
Maybe.
'Cause I'll take a
I'm
listen.
sure there is. Yeah, but I think it's very gruesome.